Welcome to Virtually Sunday. My name is Tony Pichler, Mission Outreach Director for Resurrection Parish in Green Bay. I have to be honest with you, I didn't win the $830 million Powerball lottery. I guess I'm just not very lucky. That, or the fact that I've never purchased a ticket, probably makes it pretty hard to win. But what if I had purchased a ticket? What if I had won that unfathomable amount of money? Would my life be any different? Would I be happier? I think those are the questions the scripture readings for Sunday are pointing us to. In the first reading from Ecclesiastes, the teacher, Koheleth, is pondering what difference hard work and the storing up of riches makes in his life. He writes, "Vanity of vanities," says Koheleth, "vanity of vanities, all things are vanity. For what profit comes to man from all the toil and anxiety of heart with which he has labored under the sun? All his days, sorrow and grief are his occupation. Even at night, his mind is not at rest. This also is vanity." The ultimate answer that he comes to is that this is all vanity, this desire for more, this thirst for wealth and for riches, this focus on earthly possessions, this thirst to win the Powerball lottery or sock away as big of a nest egg as possible. In the gospel, Luke returns to one of his favorite themes, the necessity of sharing material goods with our neighbors in need. If we return to the beginning of our year with Luke, we are mindful that he focuses on Jesus' mission, which comes from the prophet Isaiah. We remember, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring glad tidings to the poor. He sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, and to proclaim a year acceptable to the Lord." And we remember that we are called to share in this mission, not just for ourselves, but for building up the reign of God. The Sunday's gospel, using a story form of parable, Jesus tells the story of a rich man who has plentiful land, harvest, and barns to store the harvest. I mean, he's the biggest landowner in the county, and he reaps the most harvest. Yet, all of this isn't enough for this guy. He wants more. So he takes down his barns and builds even bigger ones so that he can create more wealth for himself. And then he thinks with all of this wealth in place, he'll be able to sit back, eat, drink, and be merry, and ultimately be happy. But God reminds him that life doesn't work that way, and he dies that very night. We are reminded that you never see a trailer, including a wagon full of produce, pulled behind a hearse. Ultimately, when you listen to the rich man in this parable story, there are many references to words like me, mine, and my. The language is not one of community or sharing. Rather, the rich man is caught up into his own desire for more, to benefit himself. Time and time again, Jesus reminds us, particularly in the Gospel of Luke, that our life is not for ourselves. Our wealth and possessions are not for ourselves. They're for others. Luke writes about the early Christian community in his Acts of the Apostles, kind of a sequel of sorts to his gospel. And there we hear about the early Christians sharing all things in common, praying together, and living a true community life. They had listened to the stories of Jesus and this value of community living, and they had taken it to heart. They were living the way as Jesus had envisioned. So what about us over 2,000 years later? Are we living a life focused on the accumulation of wealth designed to make us happy? Do we live a life full of scarcity, hungrily accumulating all that is possible for our own comfort, lest there be not enough tomorrow? Or are we living a life of abundance, knowing that there will always be enough for everyone if we look out for each other and not just for ourselves? This isn't to say that wealth is necessarily a bad thing. My Uncle Adolf owns more acres of land in Pepin County over in western Wisconsin than anyone else. but I'm not sure I know a more generous man with his time and his talents for those who are in need. It's how we use the resources that we've been given, how we serve as stewards of God's gifts, that makes all the difference in the eyes of God. So we have a choice, a life for ourselves or a life for others. It seems that some of the greatest spiritual models of our past and present would point us to the latter. Jesus of Nazareth, Gandhi, St. Francis of Assisi, St. Teresa of Calcutta, Dorothy Day. Each points us to a selfless life of giving, of living for the other, not for ourselves. Is this countercultural? You bet it is. Is it the path that leads to the reign of God? Absolutely. Peace be with you.